What if the silence in your family was actually a wound that needed healing? In this episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show, we sit down with the amazing Susan Lieu, author, activist, and performer who went on a relentless quest for truth after losing her mother to a botched plastic surgery. We dive deep into breaking intergenerational cycles, redefining self-worth, and unlearning the cultural expectations that keep us small. Plus, we talk about the power of joy, the importance of salad friends, and why sometimes you just need to buy the damn grapes. Tune in now. This one is raw, real, and absolutely unmissable. Enjoy. Hi there. Welcome to the Empowered and Embodied Show. I'm Kim Romaine.
And I'm Louise Neal. We're two transformational coaches who are also fellow travelers on the path of growth and self-discovery. And we're inviting you along for the ride.
That's right. We're right here in the trenches with you, navigating the ups and downs of life. And each week we'll be sharing our own experiences, bringing you conversations with amazing guests, and exploring insights and strategies that have helped us find more clarity, confidence, and ease in our lives.
And trust us, we do not have it all figured out. We're learning and growing right alongside you.
So if you're ready to rise above the chaos, doubt, and confusion that sometimes life throws our way,
and step into a more empowered and embodied version of yourself,
then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Kim Romaine, joined as always by my other co-host.
That's me, Louise Neal. And today we have a wonderful guest. I can't wait to dive in.
I'm Susan Lieu, everyone. Susan, we are so glad to have you here. We're going to let the world know a little bit about you in just a minute, but we want to start this week how we start every week. What are we celebrating?
I am celebrating my health. I've been sick for 4 months at a crazy rash. I had a 7-day flu during my 7-day trip in Mexico City. I was like, this is perfect. And then I just had 3 weeks of walking pneumonia, and Mama is back. I'm like 88% back. You know what I mean? Like I'm almost there. And but I'm still kind of sick where I still like feel grateful that I have my health. Because you know when you then have a thing and you can't you lose that ability to be grateful and recognize how amazing it is. Yeah. So I'm 88% back. That's number one. Second one is I'm rewiring my brain of like my metrics for success and worthiness.
Ooh, that's sexy.
Because I was like, I'm so the overachiever. And last year I had a great year and I achieved so much. And then I was like, but inside I feel empty. And so I'm doing stuff about it, which I'm super excited about, like that there can just be a potential for a new reality. So I'm stoked about that. And then also, ladies, the amount of money I spend on my child's berry budget is really, because I'm like, oh, he's going to eat something that's like not processed. Sure, I'll spend money on like not ripe strawberries. You know what I did? I spent $9.69 on these giant Peruvian green grapes. Like they're big. They're like 2 inches tall. And they were so crunchy. They were like an apple, but like no work, And it was like, and I ate these green grapes because I cannot control what is happening in the world. But I can give myself under $10 luxury products like Peruvian grapes. So what I'm trying to say is I finally justified giving myself the same pleasure that I give to my kid. You know what I mean? Like where I was like, I deserve something nice and it doesn't have to be my birthday or Mother's Day. So anyways.
Yeah.
GMO Peruvian giant grapes.
Those are, I know what you're talking about. They're massive.
They're huge.
Yeah. It's like, that's a grape.
That's a
plum.
Yeah. And anyways, it was just so enjoyable to give myself what I wanted.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. Can I borrow some of your celebration, Susan?
Yeah, sure. You want some of my help?
Some of your energy?
Suck some of my good health out of me.
Like, no, that's yours.
Yeah. No. Like you've worked hard to get to 88%. Like I don't want to take that. But I'm going to admit, like today I am dog tired. I am dragging my ass like you wouldn't believe. These hot flushes and night sweats and menopause have turned my life upside down right now. And today I am just trying to get through my day. Yesterday was nap day, and so that wasn't too bad. But I mean, I can't nap like right now. I have things to do. We have this recording to do.
We're not cats.
We're not cats.
Nap 18 hours a day.
I wish. Oh, but you know, in your celebrations, in your reflection, it's like I can celebrate. Like, I love lying down and just feeling that when your body just like sinks right into the bed, like, and doesn't stop. I will celebrate that. I do have moments of that. Maybe because I wake up so often, I have many moments.
Oh, baby.
Of that.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I will celebrate the nice, cozy moments right before you fall asleep, when the world is right. Everything in the world is right in those last minutes before you doze off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll celebrate that.
I was like, oh my God. Like, I did a 4-part answer. I was like, oops. Yeah. No, oops. I love it. Sometimes I have 4-part. No, don't worry. Like, it was beautiful because it's real. The realness is, right? Susan, you were sharing, you had 4 months of bad health. I got sick in November, right? End of January, I'm starting to feel better. Like, I'm a little, like, I'm at like 92%. So I'm there. I'm able to do some of the stuff. But when you have any sort of chronic illness, it just is not okay. And then to embrace that boost of energy and to embrace all that you're celebrating right now is very real. That's your experience. And for Louise to say, you know what? I have, like, because it's real. It's what's happening, real life. And that's why we do this show. And that's why we called it what we called it, because life is going to life all the fuck over us all the time. And it's doing a lot of it right now. We're all feeling it. Grapes.
That's why you eat grapes, exactly. And big ass grapes too, right? Because life does life all over us. This is my 5th conversation today. Usually on Fridays, we record this on Fridays. I don't have that many conversations. This is usually like cozy time for me to do more project-based work. But I had so many conversations today, and the text messages that I'm getting, and all of this. Life is lifing hard. It feels like it's harder right now than it has in a long time. I could go into all the reasons why we feel this way, because there are some reasons we're collectively feeling this, and we all get to choose how we are showing up for it. If showing up for it to be a cat and take all the naps, do it when you can. To show up and be like, I have all the energy, celebrate that and do that. And for me, I'm celebrating that I had some great conversations, including this one, which I know is going to be a great conversation, that is helping me realize how much I am so in the moment of what's happening. Like, I'm not letting myself get swept away by stuff that I know in the past I would have gotten swept away by. Momentarily, I might be like, "Whoa, fuck, that's happening." And then it'll be like, oh, but it's not happening here. And here in this moment where I am, what do I need? What does Kim need? What is this thing? And so having that ability to be really, really present, right? With the $9.69 grapes. It's like, what is it? For me, it's been Cool Whip this week. Cool Whip and strawberries. Like, Cool Whip is not something that I didn't even grow up with it in the fridge, but like, I had strawberries and I'm like, what's some Cool Whip with that?
This is the resurgence of the 90s, everyone.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be the Kool-Aid guy and burst through the brick wall and be like, I feel like it's so the 90s, but it's so summer and it's so
Yep.
idyllic and just like joyful.
Yeah. Yeah. And playful, right? It's that place where when life is lifing, we have to play. We have to find ways to just be silly and goofy and take a nap, right? I mean, that's the other part of it. Like in the 90s, probably not the 90s, the 80s, I was taking more naps than I am now. But yeah, it's finding that way to take care of ourselves. All right, I'm going to digress here for a second. Although, sorry, I'm not. Before we started recording, we were talking about something else that was playful, lemon squeezies.
We sure were. And you said easy peasy lemon squeezy. And then I was like, wait, my 4-year-old kid says lemon squeezy. But he does it with a magic spell. He goes, hocus pocus, lemon squeezy. And then that's it, and I was like, you and him are mind melding on lemon squeezy. But then you drop some knowledge that lemon squeezy is a thing of the past.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I am right. And I shared that story of I would go into the general store in my very small hometown and it like everything in there felt like it was old fashioned. Like, you mentioned old fashioned lemon drops and fireballs and like old fashioned candy, root beer sticks, all that kind of stuff.
Kim, if you're calling it a general store, you just time dating yourself, girl.
Well, here's the thing.
It's like Laura Ingalls Wilder.
It was it was Western. So it was in the 70s. And it was Western Massachusetts, and in our little town that had 400 people in it.
Okay, yeah.
We had a general store / post office. Now, our little town with 400 people in it was also attached to the town where the university was. So, we got a few extra thousand, not a lot, but we got a few extra thousand. But it was, you wouldn't go to the general store to do shopping. And like, you didn't go to that post office if you needed to mail a package, but it was something, it's nostalgic in a way that is playful, not nostalgic in terms of like that way of like, we need to live the way we were. No, but lemon squeezy is fun.
It's a soda, everyone. But I could just imagine teenage Kim just like, where are you going? I'm going to town to get a stamp. And then
because in Massachusetts, we absolutely talked with the Southern accent. Yeah. All right. I am going to let the world know a little bit more about you, Susan. Okay. All right. So here we go. So Susan is a multi-hyphenate storyteller, activist, and author. Through her book, podcast, and live performances, Susan takes audiences on a journey of healing intergenerational trauma, embracing authenticity, and finding boldness in vulnerability. Susan is the creator of her theatrical solo show, 140 Pounds, How Beauty Killed My Mother, which received critical acclaim from the LA Times, NPR, and American Theater. Her debut memoir, The Manicurist's Daughter, is an Apple Book Pick of the Month and Must Listen of the Month, and has received accolades from the New York Times, NPR Books, Elle Magazine, and the Washington Post. And I will tell you, this book, although I haven't finished it yet, this book is absolutely worth a read. It is, I know we'll get into some of the stuff here. Susan, we're so glad you're here. I know Louise has a question for you based on the book.
I do.
You
just voluntold Louise?
I totally do. Oh my God. Yeah. Years together, I tell her all this.
I think Louise has a thought right now she wants to share.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, okay. So Kim and I do talk about the guests often before they appear on the show.
Not in a bad.
No, not in a bad way. And with your book, Susan, one of the things that like just fascinated me is not the book itself, because it's beautifully written. It was like, what was that inside you that said, I have this story that I need to get out of me and I need to put it in paper and ink? Like, we all have stories inside us, yet not all of us like are able to put that out there into the world in that way. So I'm really curious, like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, with the book, it first starts with the show, right? And the premise of this work is I never wanted to tell my family's story about how my mom died from a botched tummy tuck from a negligent plastic surgeon when I was 11 years old. And for the next 2 decades, my family, to this day, has never had a conversation about my mother or what happened. So for me to even tell this story out loud to anyone outside of my husband has been blasphemy, right? It was sacrilegious. Like my family was just like, why are you bringing up the past? What's wrong with you? Why are you a troublemaker? Like it was so much the blame and shame game. So I never really talked about this until the moment I was confronted with this pressure to have kids, right? Like my dad and aunts were like, your eggs aren't getting any younger, so have babies now. And I'm sitting there going like, one part of me is like, how do you become a mother? How do I become a mother if I never knew my own? Right? I was 11 when she died. She was 38. And then the second part is like, how do I become a mother if I feel like a coward in my own life as an adult? There's this line in the book. It's like, I was disappointed with the adult I had become. And for me, I had felt like I was in my orbit on stage when I did stand-up comedy. And then I leave the microphone because this heckler just like will not stop. And I go, who am I kidding? I thought I was good at something, like it was just a dumb hobby. And so I leave the microphone for 3 years. And then when my dad's like, have baby, I'm sitting there going like, God, how do you tell your kid be what you want in life if I didn't myself? You know what I mean? Like, I just felt that weight of like, I can't live in my own integrity here, and I'm just going to be lying through my teeth, and I'm going to tiger mom him so hard and project upon him everything that I never had because I grew up poor. And then now this kid will have, if he wants to go to drama school camp, I'd be like, how was camp today? Did you get the lead? You know what I mean? Like, I kind of knew I was going to try to live through him. So I knew I had to deal with all of this baggage before I took out my IUD. You know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't, I was on the fence as a parent to become a parent. And then I thought if I didn't do all of this stuff, if I didn't raise the stakes in this way, then I just felt like I would be living a lie. And then I'd have so much regret and so much fear and so much gunk, So I had to face it. And so I took it back to the stage and I wanted to find out who my mother was. And when they wouldn't talk, I tracked down the plastic surgeon's kids, enlisted the help of spirit channelers, went back to Vietnam several times, read thousands of pages of depositions because my family wouldn't talk. And every time I learned something new, I put it on stage in my one-woman show. So it was kind of like I reached the point of I had been subservient and obedient to everything my family has ever wanted in terms of being quiet about the past. But the thing is once my mom died, I didn't realize I've been sleepwalking my entire life because I was hiding, right? And to not know your mother and to not deal with that trauma and for it to be so unresolved, you're going to pay the tax somewhere else, right? And I did so many times in dysfunctional romantic relationships, in joining a cult when I was at Harvard, like in wanting to belong so bad and to be seen so bad that I was willing to do some pretty dumb things. And really at the end of it, it was just like, I just wanted to be seen by my own family. I wanted emotional vulnerability with my own family. But guess what? Follow the rules, you get the same outcome. And that outcome was not serving me. And I said, this default world, I'm not happy, but I'm still obedient. What would it look like if I did the thing I knew I was supposed to do? What would I look like if I went on this quest for justice to avenge my mother's death? You know what I mean? And then right when I started doing all that with the arts, with my activism, holy cow, I'm living. And I also feel like my mom is helping me. And it's been confirmed by spirit channelers and psychics. But like, I had to do this to become a mom. And so I did.
Has it been like since, right? Since this has been in the world, since you've now have a 4-year-old, so you're now 4 years into this part of your journey, what has that been like?
There's two answers to that, right? On a personal me, Susan level, and then like a mom intergenerational healing level. So part one, I subscribe so much of my worthiness to achievement, right? And getting accolades and like winning and being the best. And like, I got all of that during my first year of the book coming out. And then I still felt numb. You know what I mean? And also like, people are like, enjoy the ride. And I'm like, no time for that. Next thing, build a movement, find the fans, do the bird, get the sales, you know? And it was just like, it's the beautiful part of being a child of refugees, like the hustle and like make your own destiny, right? Like that's in my DNA and it makes me feel whole. But at the same time, it made me feel empty, right? Because here's a sad story. Is sometimes I would be in like different magazines or, you know, be in the New York Times or whatever. And I would share it with my family and it would be like crickets on the group thread, you know, or other relatives would just say like comments you wouldn't expect them to say. Once I was like, hey, I'm going to be in the New York Times. And they were like, what, an advertisement? You know, like it's kind of like, huh. So it's kind of like, I write this story about intergenerational healing with families and all that. And it's like, I can't control, like I have more control in my nuclear unit, me, my husband, my son, right? Like I can set the norms, you know, like I'm not trying to like counter how it used to be 30 years ago. And this was our norm. Like it was like, this is our norm. And so it's like, there's still this sadness because my family and I still haven't been able to have the conversation about, are you okay? You know, like we can't have that conversation. It's still too hard. And then sometimes I feel empty with the achievements, right? And then I'm like, oh, well, cool. Well, I'm 39 now. Guess what? I'm actually making the rules. Even though my dad's voice is like seared in my brain and I feel like always yelling at me, like, cool. I need to just make some peace with that voice, acknowledge that voice, allow space for that voice, and also rewire my rules. And so that's been my journey right now, is because I'm like, wow, is it working for me? You know, and it wasn't. It really wasn't. And I got sick. And also I always felt like nothing was ever enough. And I was burnt out. And I was like, this is supposed to be one of the greatest years of my life. Like what happened, you know? And so that with also the health stuff, it just made me take a hard left. And I'm working really hard on being, ladies. That beingness is not easy. I'm working hard on it. I'm being so hard right now. Right? Because it's like, it impacts your physical health and everything else and how I mom. So I guess like the success of the book and the show has been transformative in that it was this big opening to change the rules and see this like different possibility for living. Right? Like, what else is there to prove? You know what I mean? And to who? And it's like, this is my like Buddhist confrontation with my own ego, you know, and it's like, had to happen. So that's what we're going through. The second one with parenting is that given everything I went, all the trouble I went through as a kid, the way I talk about my body and my kid's body, money, worthiness, emotions, you know, that allowing them to have it, so important because mine was so repressed. I was just in Vietnam a few weeks ago and my aunt had passed away and I was talking to her surviving children and they were like, oh my God, my sister won't stop crying. And I had to look at her and be like, your mom just died yesterday. Like, it is okay to cry, but culturally, there's like shame in it. It's like emotions are so wrapped up in saving face and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm the mom now. Love different parts of my Vietnamese heritage and also gonna hit reset on a couple of other things. So it's been a really great moment for me to just tell inner Susan, that's not going to perpetuate. We're going to do a little bit different around here. And if you feel sad, you can buy those grapes.
The grapes are always there.
They're so good.
What did you learn? What did you learn about your mom when you were going through this? When we think about intergenerational healing and trauma that comes from like our ancestors that we carry in our DNA, what did you learn about your mom when you were investigating? What kind of trauma was she hanging on to, do you think?
I wouldn't stop with my quest, right? And so I went back to the lawyers who had represented us. I went back to them many times, and finally the lawyer was like, do you want the depositions? Because we were supposed to throw them away, but actually I have them. You want them? Because she realized I wouldn't stop calling her. I was like, oh, yeah, thanks. So I go and I look, and it's in the end of the plastic surgeon's deposition that I see my mom's last days photos, like when she was in for the consult, like headshot, but also tummy shot. And I remember I was like flipping through it late at night, and I didn't expect to see photos. And I was like, oh my God, like now I'm like looking at her eye to eye. And I was like so scared. And then I scroll down and I see her tummy, her midsection. And I was so crushed because I was like, she wasn't even that fat. I was like just staring there. I was like, oh my God, all of this for that, like to change something that she fixated on, but really like, I don't know if anyone else really saw. I mean, maybe she wasn't as petite as when she first came over from Vietnam, but she's had 4 kids. She sits in a nail salon chair all day. She takes care of so many people. So that was part 1 where I was just like, God, that was so vain, so preventable. Oh. And in the medical board report, it was like, how funny, she said. She was 110 pounds on her consult form. She's 140. And that's when it stopped me right there, when I was like, boom, light bulb, because I'm 140 pounds. Right? And then all of a sudden it was like, click, 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 click. I'm a cookie cutter shape of my mom. Do I want this to continue? And my family has, I am like the family dumping ground for like blame, right? And so they've always talked about my body. And when I stood up for myself, they're like, what's the big deal? We make fun of you all the time. And I'm sitting there going like, wow, like these comments go deep. You can say all the mantras you want, but your family's judgment hurts. And so I realized, like, after I had my kids won, and my aunt is like talking about my weight in front of everyone. And I was like, Susan, this is your chance. This is your chance not to be the little niece anymore that always gets punked and kicked around. Like, this is your time to change it. Your son is listening. Your son is listening. You're a mom now. This is your time to make it, like stand up to your elders. Because remember, we're not allowed to do that in Vietnamese culture. Like, she's the scariest 4-foot tall woman I know. Okay. And I realized in that moment, like, if anyone ever needs a more obvious moment of, do you want to perpetuate trauma? And I was like, I'm going to stand up for myself. And it was terribly frightening. But I just saw everything that happened with my mom. The house of cards comes crumbling down. Remember, she had 2 nail salons, 4 kids. We were 13 people in a 4-bedroom house. She had sponsored over her parents and her sisters. Like, and she was like sending money back home to her 8 other siblings. Like, there was so much happening. And it all comes crumbling down because she just wanted to fit into her Vietnamese dress better, or she was in the beauty industry, and like, women are judgy. They're super judgy. So I learned that, 1, yes, my mom is vain. And after I had a kid, and I'm just trying to manage my 3-person household, not my 13-person household, like, oh my God, life is hard. She was flawed. And she was probably insecure too. Because as a little kid, I always saw her as the woman who knew all the answers, was our like leader riding into the sunset. Like, we never questioned her at all. And she always had the answer. She was always moves ahead of us. She was playing chess. I was playing checkers, you know, and we all followed her. We trust her so deeply. And so to lose her from something that I think is so shallow is like, it just reveals that she was a complex person. She wasn't perfect. Maybe she expected herself to be perfect. Maybe I expect myself to be perfect. And that's our own demise, right? Like that we need to address that, because the question is how's that working out?
Yeah, we see that in so many different ways, don't we? When we attempt to live up to a certain expectation and whatever culture we're coming from, right? That's put in front of us by our families of origin, by the cultures and societies that we live in, by the communities that we live in. This is where you need to be. And that's what we keep seeing and being told over and over and over again. And so it clings to us. The way I always see it is like, it's like these amoeba that like attach to us, and they suffocate our own ability to identify who we want to be and how we want to show up in this world. And, you know, part of what I hear you unpacking through what you learned about your mom and what she may have been going through at that time is this connection to something bigger than herself. She was focused on the 13 people in her homes, her 2 salons, right? Doing what she needed to do. And she wanted, what it sounds like is she wanted to appear, right? To continue to have that appearance of, I have it all together.
But, you know, like I talk about with the grapes,
yeah,
this is what I've learned about my mom. She also wanted something for herself, right? Like, because she was like, it's always family. It was always family. She was always giving. And, you know, maybe like not equivalent grapes, but like kind of equivalent grapes.
Yeah.
Where she just wanted something for herself, right? And that's what she did.
When we start to slip away from self, right? And it's pretty easy to do when we have these amoebas attached to us, right?
Can we call them leeches? I felt like leech was more accurate with
leech. Yeah. So for me,
away.
they're bigger than a leech. That's why it's like these massive things that are like attached to us. But yeah, 100%. These leeches that are attached to us that are sucking us dry. And we're moving further and further away from self. What are some of the tethers, the lifelines that we know now that we've evolved to, that we can use to start to bring ourselves back to self?
Exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I feel like my mind is always spinning. It's this like little factory that will not stop. And exercise is this thing that I feel like really helps regulate my nervous system. And just like, also, I can't look at my phone when I'm exercising. Well, most of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a class, it gives me space. And then I can hear myself better. And then know what I need to do, right? Because I think the days that I wake up and start scrolling right away, read the news, go on Instagram, look at messages, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's just like, then it's so cloudy for the rest of the day. And it's just so chaotic. And so I think the first one is just like creating this space to regulate the nervous system and to just, you know, just let things flow, let things circulate. I think that's been so important. Another one is just building community on like an organizational level, like related to all my intersectional identities of being Asian and female and a performer and Vietnamese and all that goodies. And then it's having my council of cheerleaders. Like there have been a number of times when writing the book and doing the play and being on tour, I text somebody, I'm like, hey, do you have 5 minutes right now? You know, and it's when I'm near the bottom. It's when I'm near the bottom and they're my lifeline where I can be unapologetically vulnerable and weak and scared. And then they can listen and then be like, rah, 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 you know, and like, bring me back to just another perspective of thinking, just to like change the record on the record player. And so I'd say having that has been so amazing. I mean, and of course, like regular therapy, you know, I do it every other week. That's really great. Like I just think of that as maintenance. But I think to be able to call on people when you feel scared and weak is very important, because I also think, oh, I'm burdening people. You know, like the doubt brain comes in and it's just like, what are you doing? Like, stop it. Like, no one wants to hear from you. Like, ew, you're being toxic. And then I'm just like, but I'm just like putty on the floor. No, someone needs to pick me up, you know? And so I think, do you have people who you feel safe with? And I actually asked them for permission in advance. I was like, Julie, I'm still writing this book and I don't know when it's going to publish. Can you be on my council of cheerleaders? Can I text you whenever? And she's like, yeah. And some people actually like to know that you're on their ride or die team, you know? But I think in today's society, we're so insular, right? We're so lonely. We're so isolated. We're remote workers, which has its own pleasures. But at the same time, it's like, I find comfort, or I find immediate companionship with my phone, not with humans, right? Or like, God, I feel like I have to like email them and like schedule a time to talk. And maybe this is a few months out or a few weeks out, and go on your Calendly. And it's like, no, I need I need to send an SOS right now. Can you pick up? Yep. And it is a game changer to hear a friend.
Well, that act of actually talking to someone.
So simple.
We diminish that all the time with all the technology that we have. And right. And as technology continues to shift and we're trying to find quote unquote, new ways to stay connected, we're actually going back to the old ways of staying connected.
I got to go back to that general store and get me a stamp.
I need a stamp.
I need a stamp.
Don't talk like that in Massachusetts.
And I'm going to write you a postcard and tell you wish you were here.
Really needs to get you out east so you understand that's not how we do it.
I'll see you in Massachusetts.
You know, I think it's so interesting because we were talking about, right, like this intergenerational stuff that gets stuck to us, right? Like these leeches that aren't ours often, right? We've come into the world with them. We pick them up from our families and from our communities along the way. And Susan, while you were talking, especially about community and about those people who are around us, they're all the mirror, or they're the people that are pointing that out, and they're like, you've got something right here. You've got a leech. Like, do you want to like pull that off? Like, because you got something on your face. And I think it's like without those people around us, kind of like pointing that out to us to say, like, what's going on? And without that, we really, really, we don't get a chance to heal or to grow at all. We just get covered in more and more leeches because that's who's around. Yeah.
Louise, I want you to know I'm your salad friend. So if you have salad in your teeth, I will tell you. I tell everybody, even strangers, and they'll be like, I don't know you. And I was like, yeah. And the people you're sitting with who didn't tell you, you got to rethink those friendships. But yes, I hear you. Like we to see ourselves. Have you heard of the Johari's window? It's like a 2x2 grid, and it's like what you know about you and what others know about you, which is like, my name is Susan. You know, we all know that. I know that about myself. There's stuff that I know about me that you don't know about me. There's stuff that you know about me that I don't know about me. And then there's stuff that nobody knows about me that nobody knows about me, right? And the hope in the human experience is that we can widen these windows of knowing, right? So that I will know more about myself and you will know more about me, and it will create a deeper connection. But the thing is in our isolated society today, these windows are very small and we keep them very tight. And then the more tight we keep it, the more stagnant life is, right? And it's just like, then we feel upset that we're not getting the life experience we want. And so when others can feel comfortable and have the capacity to share with me about my salad teeth or the leech on my face, that's their signal to me that they care about me, right? Which makes me feel seen and trusting, like I should invest more in this relationship, and I see more of them, right? It's symbiotic and it's quite beautiful. But the question is, have we lost our ability to be courageous, to tell others the truth.
To tell other people that they have the salad. Oh my
Yeah.
God. My daughter is so tired. She's 15. She's so tired of me telling her that she has shit in her teeth.
You know
It's
what?
like,
Then
you
let
have
her
something.
experience that world of people being like, hi. And then
Yeah,
they don't know how to react to her or whatever. That's fine.
She has thankfully surrounded herself by a whole bunch of salad friends who will absolutely do that. And I love that for her, because absolutely, to your point, our lives have become so much tighter, right? It's close into us. And yet we think everybody else is living a bigger life, a wider life.
They're happy and I'm not.
Right. Because right in that window got skewed. And somehow we think we live in the small part of the window and everybody else is living in this larger part. And so that opportunity to have our salad friends, to have our leech friends, these are really weird words. But
It's going to trend, I know.
it's totally good trend. We get that opportunity to widen that window.
And I think we can only do that if we create the space to take care of ourselves and make sure we're replenished and all that, and then have the capacity to go see someone else and hold them in that space, right? Because that's what friendship is. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down, and you're still there, right? And the other day, I was on a long drive, and I was like, I thought of this friend, and my heart's been really with her. I just called her because I have a phone that has her phone number, and I can just touch it. I don't need to check in and schedule and see if it's okay and be really like, Gen Alpha awkward about it. Like you can just call someone. And I called her and we talked for like 30 minutes and it was super beautiful. And it was just like, yeah, I had the capacity to hold her and her shit because I've been holding my shit and taking care of it. And now I'm 88%, right? Like it's because I'm doing the work to do the self-care for me. Whereas in the past, right, people be like, oh, you're so selfish. You're a bad mom. Oh my God. Like you went to go see Wicked by yourself and you didn't take your kid. And I'm like, inappropriate. And also, yes, I don't want to have to manage people or wonder if they're snoring or sleeping or not. And they're my family, like I just wanted to go watch Wicked by myself. Right. But it's when we have needs, are we hearing them? Are we giving them space and time and we honoring them? Or it's about everyone else's needs before yours? Right? Because if we keep doing that, we're going to run out of steam, right? And if we can replenish the self, then we can hold space for others. And then it's our turn to hold space. It's our turn to be able to even have the capacity to notice that they have a leech on their feet.
Yeah. Well, and that's that generational, right? That is generations of, generally speaking, the energy that we're talking about here is that maternal line ancestral trauma of not knowing how to hold space for yourself. It is the rare person in our ancestral lines in most cultures, not all, but most cultures, where we have seen women know how to hold that space for themselves first and then to care for the others around them.
Can we just talk about how people are so bad at listening? People are so... I was like, is this appropriate? I'm like, I mean, you two are great listeners. I'm not giving you that feedback now. No. It's more like when I'm talking to someone about something, they just go like, oh yeah, and it relates to me in this way. Like it's not like, can I double click right there and just ask you more about that? How does that make you feel? Like to really like center me, right? They're going to be like telling another story. And then it just like, and then whatever I was sharing or wherever we could have gotten deeper or I need to be held in that way, just kind of drops. And then you're kind of like, oh, okay. Right? It's like, are we always waiting for our turn to speak? And do we actually hear and acknowledge what they said? And to give them that human medicine of being seen.
Yeah. How do we deepen that? How do we help people deepen that?
When I've experienced some profound listening, like where someone has held space for me, I feel like so much deep love for them. Like I feel so much better. Like I think it's to receive that experience. Then you recognize like, oh, like that was really, why was that so great? Like I love Sherry. Why do I love Sherry so much? Like, was it Sherry? I mean, Sherry's great, but like, or was it what she did, right? Which is she held space. So I would say, to answer your question, is to receive that medicine and to know how beautiful it can be, and then to practice it to other people. But I just wanted to name it because I think, like, I go to like parent potlucks, or I go to like, I don't even know where else I go to, but I feel like my kids maybe that's all I go to, kids' birthday parties, where it's just like, I'm sitting here going like, does anybody else realize how weird all of these interactions are? But I mean, maybe they're all like zombies and tired and just trying to like finish their nap.
I'll just name it nap.
But anyways, Kim, I think naming the issue instead of just pretending like this is all normal and acceptable, because I don't think it is. I think it's very strange.
Well, I think a lot of how we live is very strange right now.
Tell me more.
I mean, I think a lot of the isolationists, the fact that we are on our phone, we default to our phone, we default to these news cycles that are sensationalist, like, and have been for a long time. And it's, yes, getting worse. The fact that my closest friends are not physically here. Now, they are people that I talk to.
It's not AI.
It's not AI, but it's right. They're people that I try to see once or twice a year if we can, but we don't live here. So like, we live in really weird times where our communities look and feel different. Right. And so culturally, my family grew up where everybody was not all in the same house, but within the same block, in the same city. And so, and not my generation, but my parents' generation, particularly on my mom's side. And the fact that a few of us moved away is shocking, and they don't know how to deal with us. And so it's as though we don't exist, which blows my mind. I'm like, you have the same, like snowbird. So you go to a different state for half the year, but you're very much involved. And yet I move equidistance away to a different country. But equidistance away, it's still just a phone call. It's still just a text message. And I am not part of that circle anymore. It's so weird to me that we have changed so much, because it used to be, right? Your community was where you lived. And
I think the question is like, what do you fill your space with? Right. And we are a composite of the 5 closest people next to us, that we see. Okay. But it's like, because the digital world exists and we fill it, like, I'm sitting here, you're on a tab, I do a lot of my work on a computer. This is how I'm filling my space. So then you don't exist to me, like, I think the digital world as cool. It's very cool. It's very cool that we can virtually do this. I love that. That's very cool. But at the same time, there has been a loss.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do we want to make sure people are getting from this conversation? Like, if we had to boil it down for them and say, this is what I hope you heard today, what do we hope they heard?
Look, it's always going to be hard to love your family. But what's even harder is really learning how to love yourself. And breaking the conditioning of what you grew up with that created this soundtrack of your beliefs about yourself, about what you're capable of where your worth is, whether it's conditional or not. Like, doing that work and learning how to love yourself through all of that and undoing all of that, that will pay off in spades to yourself and to the circles and concentric circles around you of your influence, whether that be your nuclear home and hopefully eventually your extended family, your communities, and onward and onward. But that is not possible until you go inward. I think it is so deliciously tempting for our dopamine hits to go outward, to look out and be like, oh my God, the life is crazy, and then it's like all of our ability to make decisions or to give or to all of that is just given, the power is given away. And so I would say in this midst of chaos, of turmoil, do not go outward, but to go inward. Take care of the you so you can hold space for others, so that you can make eye contact with other people in your community and tell them that they got salad in their teeth. You know, like, we can connect with others, but that connection must start within.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
For me, I know I haven't said too much this episode, but lots of good stuff has been floating around here, and I've been absorbing it all. The thing that sticks out for me is this whole idea of like receiving. Like, we really, really need to practice that, and to be able to be open to receiving, to be able to go to the store and buy those delicious grapes, to be able to to be open to a goodness, a deliciousness when it's offered, is something that we don't do enough. And I think we've really lost the art of that. And I just love that. I'm looking for Peruvian grapes. I doubt they're here in Winnipeg, but we'll go see.
Well, yeah, and I was like, you probably don't have Korean grapes, but they're called shine muscat grapes, and they're also very large.
I'm going looking for them.
But
Absolutely.
now you said Winnipeg, and I'm like, I don't know, Louise.
We'll see.
We'll see what we can find.
Yeah.
And Louise, it never fails to amaze me, even after all these years that I've known you, that there are those times where you're quiet and you're absorbing, and I know you're being a sponge and you're taking it all in, and then you drop these like wonderful gems. So thank you for dropping that, because mine is actually going to be short this time. What I'm pointing at and underlining and highlighting is find yourself a group of salad friends. Like, surround yourself with people that will tell you when you have something on your face or in your teeth. Like, you need to know that, because those are the people that have your back.
Yeah. But with humans, it's all, we're animals. So you have to kind of signal to other people that you're down for that, right? By modeling that and being open to receiving that. So, yeah, the art of salad. Do you remember The Simpsons? And then I think Homer and Bart were like, because like Lisa was a vegetarian, and then they were like, nobody wants to be friends with salad. Nobody's going to be friends with salad. And I'm like, when you say like, I need salad friends, that's like all I'm hearing in the background. And I'm like, yeah, we just need to channel our own Lisa Simpson.
Well, that's been true for a really long time.
Oh, yeah. Which character are you?
Yeah, always go for being Lisa. Always go for being Lisa. Although in our family, they call me Marge all the time, because I will go.
Things I'm learning about you.
I don't have a Southern accent, but apparently do in your mind. Susan, it has been great. Where can people connect with you if they want to learn more and kind of see what you're doing in the world?
Yeah. On Instagram, I'm at Susan Lieu, Lieu. You can go to my website and subscribe to my Substack. It's called Live Like You're Mortal. And if you want to watch 140 pounds, you can stream it from my website too. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh my God. And I have a podcast.
I was going to say, I think there's one more thing.
Yeah. It's called Model Minority Moms. How to be everything for everyone else but yourself.
I mean, I don't love that, but I love that.
Maybe how to not be everything for everyone else. I'm still workshopping it. Anyways, it's me and 2 other co-hosts. It's a good time. Yeah.
Beautiful. We will include all the links in the show notes. It has been so great talking to you and just learning a little bit more about you and your view of the world.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye for now. And that's all for this week's episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show. We hope today's episode has sparked something within you. Remember, we're all on this journey together. If something did resonate with you today, why not share it with a friend who might need to hear it too? You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
And if you're feeling generous, leave a review. Your feedback not only helps others find the show, but also helps us understand what's most valuable to you. Until next time, be kind to yourself, stay curious, and remember, we're walking right alongside you. Thanks for being part of our community.